tuning in. This is the Urban Surfer Glenn T, and you are listening to Riding the Wave. Thank you again for showing your support and listening to me. I am totally enjoying this new podcast life. I'm bringing you some of the things that I feel are important and just simple questions that can get us back to shore safely and sound. For those who are trying to reach out to me, I have a website coming soon. But in the meantime, you can reach out to me by email. That is going to be ridingthewave.podcast@gmail.com. You can also catch me on Twitter at Glenn_town. Those two ways I am always monitoring, so you can always reach out to me that way. If you wanted to catch my podcast, I am featured on Stitcher. You can also catch me on Podbean, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Soon to come other venues as well, but for now, these are ways that you can certainly listen in to Riding the Wave. Once again, I am the Urban Surfer, Glenn T. Thank you for having me. Today's topics. What are we going to talk about today? Today's topic is, why do I feel lonely when I'm surrounded by people? I know many people can relate to that. It doesn't always have to be a family setting. It doesn't always have to be a friend gathering. Sometimes it can be at work. Sometimes it could be just about anywhere where there's a crowd. But today we're just going to get into, why do I feel lonely when I'm surrounded by my friends and family? Any questions, comments, suggestions? Again, you can reach me at Glenn_town on my Twitter and ridingthewave.podcast@gmail.com. So where can this feeling come from? That's what we're going to get into today. Where can this feeling come from? Are you sure it's not you? And ways to fight the feeling. So again, why do I feel lonely while I'm surrounded by friends and family? That is a good question, but I know plenty of people feel that way. I've felt that way at times as well. You can be in a big gathering and you feel like you relate to nobody there. Awkward feeling, but it's actually a real feeling. What do you guys think about that? Where do you think that feeling comes from? Are you just weird, uncool? Are you the exception and not the rule? Honestly speaking, if that was the case, everybody would feel the same way. There would be no rule because everybody would be the exception. So let's get it together, people. Where does that feeling of loneliness come from when you're around friends and family? Ask yourself, simply, am I depressed? The answer could be no, but you still have to ask yourself that. They say a lot of times that feeling comes from being unable to say what seems important to you around the people that you care about. You're talking classical music, everybody else is talking jazz. Everybody likes oranges, you happen to like apples. Everybody wants rice, and you want potatoes. These things can make you feel different. I mean, simple and true. But is that the real reason? What do you think? Again, this is Glenn T, the Urban Surfer. You are listening to Riding the Wave. Honestly, if we just delved into it a little bit, it's been times that we've taken on interests in our life that doesn't interest everybody else. I mean, these are solo interests. That can be a way where people separate from you. Maybe not long term, but you can find yourself by yourself. It happens. Not everybody likes figure skating. Not everybody wants to watch the game on Sundays. You're not going to have a crowd for everything that you do. Get over it. Stop worrying about being so lonely. The feeling comes from you being different. There's nothing wrong with being different. Being different is just letting you know that you're covering a base that someone else isn't covering. You get to be the specialist. Everybody else knows so much about everything else, and you happen to pick the one thing nobody has interest in, or maybe too difficult. You know, these things that make you feel lonely. I mean, who can you talk to around a bunch of loved ones about fission or reverse osmosis when you're in a family full of people that love arts or sports and entertainment? But it's still a diverse world. Doesn't make you any weirder than the next person. Shouldn't make you feel like you don't belong. Shouldn't have any negative effects to it, if you ask me. Being different is a good thing, but it does make you feel lonely. So I just want to hear your questions, comments, suggestions. Just for the audience out there, again, the Urban Surfer Glenn T. This is Riding the Wave. These perceptions are my own. I just want to let you guys know these are my opinions. These are my perceptions. These are my truths. My mission is just to change one mind a day in a positive way. If I've done so, I've done my job. If not, it's back to the drawing board. So now that we identified an example or two of why a person can feel lonely surrounded by friends and family. I mean, it could be depression. Could be your interests are different. It could be you're the most revered in that family setting. Maybe people are intimidated by your presence, or maybe people want to be so impressed by you, they act different. It's like daddy's home. My mother was strict, just for instance. Sweet on the outside. She looks very nice. She always keeps herself well placed and well put together. But people will be a little afraid of joking with her. So I'm sure that she's felt alone in a crowd of family and friends at times. What I noticed about my mother is that she held a high sense of self-respect for herself when everybody else was falling apart. She always kept her dignity when people just said, hey, this is the world we live in. I'm just going to conform. So when she walked into a room, it would only be normal for her to feel lonely because nobody else relates. So these are just some of the things that this feeling of loneliness could come from around loved ones, just to expound just slightly on it. But you have to ask yourself sometimes, is it you? Do you have that personality that people are not wanting to be around often? When you come, people start to feel on edge, maybe a little judgmental, slightly depressed at times, a little melancholy. Is it you? Ask yourself. Don't be afraid to ask yourself. Why do I feel lonely around my family and my friends? The people that have the least judgmental opinions about me, the people that accept my flaws most openly. Why do I feel lonely around them? Ask yourself that. It could be you. Now, if it is you, I want you to realize, once you realized that it's you, that it's not the end of the world. You can change. You don't have to feel that now that you know it's you and it's not the people around you, that you have to go into an even deeper hole or you have to separate yourself more. I've been in situations where I wanted to be the odd man out. Not necessarily a sense of loneliness, but just wanted to be the person that was different. Different than everyone else. These things can make you feel lonely. Wanting to be different, putting yourself around people that may not share the same views as you. They may not share the same views, simply. Of course you'll feel lonely then, especially if that's your only circle of loved ones. Loved ones don't always consist of just family or just friends. They're a mixture of both. So if you've been dealt a hard hand where you just can't relate to anybody, it may be safe to say it's you. I know you may not want to hear that, but it may be you. You may be the reason for your own loneliness. The truth hurts sometimes. We put ourselves into situations where we become different. We pull ourselves out of these situations as a different person and try to put ourselves around the same people that we were around prior to any problems that we had. There's people out here walking around with PTSD and don't even realize it. Traumatic experiences in their lives, and they just wake up the next day and continue to live. Where do you think all of that goes? It could be you. You could be pushing people away. I'm telling you this because I've done it myself. I'm human. I consume my own product. I'm not only talking, but I'm also listening to myself. This is one reason why I wanted to podcast. And again, if you guys are just listening in, this is the Urban Surfer Glenn T. You are listening to Riding the Wave. For those of you who want to catch me, you can feature my show Riding the Wave on Stitcher, Podbean, SoundCloud, and YouTube. More venues to come. If you do want to reach out to me, currently you can do so at my Twitter, Glenn_Town. Also Gmail at ridingthewave.podcast@gmail.com. Website's coming soon. Just watch out for that. I'll let you guys know more of the contact information as we go forward. But I do thank you so far for all your support, listening. Just give me a few minutes of your time. I know it's not the easiest thing to do in a busy world that we live in. But again, if I can change one mind a day, I've done my job. Otherwise, I'm going back to the drawing board. So why do I feel lonely when I'm surrounded by family and friends? Just different views, different interests. You might have been through some things in your life where you separated yourself. It can be a number of things why you just feel lonely around the people that love you the most. So now that we have identified the problem and, now that we know that it can actually happen, we can actually feel lonely around people that love us the most, the non-judgmental people. So it's not really the fact that people judge us that make us lonely. It's not really the fact that people don't love us that makes us lonely, because these things exist within our circles that we feel lonely in. How do we fight the feeling? Now, this is where we get down to the brass tacks. How do we fight the feeling? Any questions, comments, suggestions? Again, this is the Urban Surfer Glenn T. This is Riding the Wave. Just want to know ways to fight the feeling of loneliness when you're around friends and family. Open up. Talk about how you feel. Stop hiding what you feel. Other people feel the same way as you, and they may just express it differently. You might be around a bunch of talkers, and you might be an introvert. Express yourself. That's a start. If you feel lonely, talk to somebody that you love, or talk to a friend and just say, hey, sometimes I get this feeling of loneliness I just can't shake. I don't know how to fix the problem. And you'll be surprised how many doors open up. We're human, so we've experienced this one way or another. The friend or the family member that you love so much that you're so afraid that may not be able to accept the fact that you feel lonely around them may have had that solution because they watched the program 2 days ago. Just watching the program. Come out your shell. We're not turtles. We start to play the victim because of that. That's another topic. But that's a beginning. How do you fight feeling lonely around people that love you? Tell someone. People cannot read minds. How does a person know that you feel lonely? I mean, you may be able to hide it better than anybody else. Smiling, waving, laughing, engaging in conversation, knowing that you're disconnected. You're feeling sick to your stomach because you're looking at your watch. How much more of this do I have to do? These conversations, let me not answer the phone. Stop. Just stop. Come out of your shell. Tell somebody, hey, I feel lonely, man. Hold my hand. Come talk to me. I may have to bother you a little bit because during these times of the day, I feel the loneliest. I was too afraid to say something. Can I call you? Now, if somebody loves you or somebody cares about you, of course, they're going to say yes. And if they can't, I'm sure they'll give you a time where they can. Got to work with people too. Open up more. Take interest in your friends and family's interests too. Or have them take interest in your interests. You've been interested in the things that you've been interested for so long, you can probably teach by now. These people that care for you, teach them the things that you like. Let them know what you like. Stop being the black sheep. It's too easy to be to yourself and feel lonely and play the victim. You have to interact with people. One of the best things I've done to myself was to make a pact of just being honest with myself. People say they're honest with themselves all the time. No, you're not. When you're honest with yourself, that's when you start to realize you have some flaws. And these flaws require work, and the people that love and care about you have been overlooking these flaws the entire time, so just appreciate the fact that they love and care about you. And give them the same patience